When US President Donald Trump is in the driving seat, one can never predict the path that lies ahead. But as the conflict between Israel and Iran keeps the world on the edge, there is only one question on everybody's mind. What next? Honestly, even Trump might not know the answer. But his sabre rattling has everyone holding their breath. In the latest post, the Supreme Commander of United States Armed Forces has brought up the N-word. He has taken exception to former Russian president and current deputy chair of Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, saying that many nations ready to give Iran their nuclear warheads. Trump has said that the N-word should not be treated so casually. These utterances are adding to the fears, even as there are no signs of a de-escalation, as all sides make it clear there will only be an escalation. Russian president, who met the Iranian foreign minister today, said that the aggression against Iran was groundless. Iran has made it clear that it will continue uranium enrichment activities, even warning that United States may have started the war, but they are the ones who will end it.
The United States, the leader of the free world, removed the greatest existential threat facing the free world. Just like our Operation Rising Lion, this was not a war of choice. This action was a necessity. We have acted with purpose. We have acted with restraint. And we will act with the moral clarity that has always defined our people. When time ran out, America showed courage. And when the moment came to confront the forces of extinction, America led. Now it is time for the rest of the world to guarantee that the threat of a nuclear Iran never returns.
But the nuclear war is not the only fear. With all sides keen on leveraging the bargaining chips that they have, oil for Iran has proven to be a key factor in Iran's plans to retaliate. Iranian parliament has backed closing the Strait of Hormuz, and this could effectively cripple the global oil supply chain. Fearing a sharp price hike, Trump has warned the oil-producing countries to keep a check on prices. So what really are the options before India then? India could certainly need to depend further on oil imports from both Russia and the United States. India has already increased these shares, but the world continues to be on edge. Going straight across to my panelists, joining me this evening, Major General Yaakov Amidror, former National Security Advisor of Israel. Also joining me tonight, Hussain Shafiei, philosopher and historian, joining me this evening, Dr. Jeffrey Gunter, former U.S. ambassador, and Matt Klink, Republican strategist, also on the show. Let me first get in Hussain Shafiei. And how do you look at the situation? Is there any hope of de-escalation, as many countries in the world are waiting with bated breath for an announcement?
So all I can say to you right now is, as you've been on air, that airplanes have taken off, or not airplanes, missiles are going to get launched at Al Udeid Air Force Base as we speak. So that is just, the Qataris have just closed their airspace and have asked for all flights in that area to be shut down. And there's no reason for Qatar on this date to do that, other than they know that things are on their way to the Al Udeid Air Force Base. And that Air Force Base is the largest military component and asset of the American military, and as I understand it, nothing that was used by America to attack Iran came from Al Udeid Air Force Base. But the Iranians have been saying for quite a while, you need to stop operations there. And the Qataris haven't, and the consequences are that, unfortunately, and Qatar is actually the country of my birth, I don't want to see harm come to it, that the Iranians are not going to sit there and have people attack them and not reply back. And the reply is incoming as we speak.
Well, Dr. Jeffrey Gunter, clearly escalation is the only thing that we're seeing happening. What does this mean for the world today? Are we seeing this moving beyond where it was. Again, the oil fears seems to be relatively on the back burner for now, because oil prices is something we can worry about tomorrow. But today, escalation of the kind that you're seeing, what does this really mean? Where are we headed?
I can't say exactly where we're headed, but what I can say is the world is a much safer place now that the nuclear program in Iran has been completely decimated. The choices facing the Iranian regime is really quite simple. President Trump wants peace, but they cannot have nuclear capabilities. It's a very simple request. We are the strongest power, really, that we've ever seen since mankind. And the United States, as well as our allies, are well prepared to deal with these type of threats. And if you don't believe me, ask Soleimani, ask al-Baghdadi, and ask the rest of the military leadership that has disappeared in Iran. So America wants peace. President Trump wants peace, but we cannot have peace as long as Iran has nuclear ambitions. And the president's made that incredibly clear.
Let me ask Mr. Matt Klink, if America is not going to stop till the nuclear program is put aside by Iran, Russia is already talking to them of providing nuclear warheads to Iran. So we're not seeing them backing off just yet. So what are the options for the United States and for Israel at this point?
Well, look, that's pure speculation whether Russia is going to provide Iran a nuclear warhead. And I think that, no one is served by speculating about all of the horrible things that could happen. Specifically with respect to the attacks that happened and any follow-on, there's a reason that it's called the fog of war. And I think that the initial American attacks were limited to 3. They weren't even military targets. They were nuclear targets that we hopefully were successful in taking out. And look, if Iran is foolish enough to respond back, and if American soldiers or American infrastructure is damaged, we have enough forces in the region that Iran's navy may cease to exist. Iran's oil production facilities may cease to exist, in which case the OPEC nations can pick up the slack and America can just produce more oil, since we're a net oil and natural gas exporter right now. So I agree with the ambassador, and what he said is the world is a safer place based on what happened on Friday night or Saturday night, America time. And if Iran is foolish enough to respond forcefully and, heaven forbid, hurt any American soldiers, I hope that they have pretty deep bunkers, because they're going to need them.
But it's not speculation, because there is on Truth Social, President Trump has pointed out about the statement that Russia made about providing nuclear warheads. So he very much recognizes, or at least has noticed, the statement by Russia. And secondly, the Qatar airspace has been shut. And we all know American are using those air bases. What does that mean?
Oh, look, well, let's deal with them in order that you brought them up. First, that was a statement by Medvedev, not by Putin. And I think that if Vladimir Putin were to make that statement, it should be taken much more seriously. That being said, I would imagine that Trump will be on the phone, if he hasn't already, to Putin, just to remind him not ultimately that it would not be in Russia's best interest to do that. And as for what the first guest on the panel said about closing airspace, yeah, I mean, look, I expect the Iranians to respond, but there are responses and there are responses. If there's a response to save face that doesn't result in any deaths to Americans, that's one thing. But if it's a response where Americans perish or American infrastructure is damaged, then Trump will respond back. And if the Iranians doubt Donald Trump, just look at what happened on Saturday night.
So Hussain Shafiei,
be pleasant.
Hussain Shafiei, you see that. How do you respond to the statement Matt Klink makes? There are responses and there are responses. Do you think it will be a mild fight back?
So I just want to talk to Matt, if I may, for 2 seconds. Matt, it took 17 minutes for X number of drones and 2 or 3 ballistic missiles to reduce Saudi Arabia's oil production and terminal by 5.2 million barrels. It took them 2 months to bring it back online. If you think for one moment that Iran's oil systems and all refineries and oil fields are going to get attacked, I'm going to give you an update on the facts and figures. There are 45 critical oil fields and terminal stations, and all of them will get done in approximately 45 minutes to an hour. There is not enough defenses. And what you're looking at is 30 million barrels of oil taken off the table. You can't replace that with shale oil. The maximum amount of shale oil you guys could actually increase by, because of the sheer amount of capacity that you don't have as part of your infrastructure to be able to give more than that, is an extra 1.2 million barrels of shale oil. You will not be helping the world. You'll only be helping yourself to think you can carry on. The world needs oil to survive. It is the artery of the planet. We live in an oil civilization, and 30 million barrels taken off the table in less than an hour with 150 missiles and drones is the nightmare scenario. And if you sit there and have the hubris to think that you can attack Iran, destroy their oil fields, and there's going to be no consequence whatsoever, you are absolutely and utterly deluding yourself of the facts that Iran is not going to go into an existential threat of death and not do the same to other people in the region, no matter how much they respect their neighbors and whatever else and wouldn't want to see that damage. It's a nightmare scenario. Don't sit there and say Iran's oil is going to be destroyed and don't think something like that's not going to happen.
What?
17 minutes is how long it took to take out 5.2 million barrels.
There are responses and there are responses. So,
but don't sit. Matt, you can't sit there and say. You can't sit there and say we'll just take out the oil fields. 2 people can play at that. You've seen the result in Israel, where they decided to attack on Friday the 13th, thinking to themselves, "Well, nothing's going to happen. Our air defense system, THAAD,
they didn't think that. That's an incorrect assumption."
So what I'm saying to you is, okay, realistically speaking, do you think for one moment that if Iran's oil systems were all attacked, that Iran would not do the same to the region? Tell me that.
Well, first of all, First of all, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that all Iran's oil facilities would be attacked. Donald Trump will respond forcefully, and he will make strategic decisions about things that hurt the most for the Iranian regime. So that being said, look, if Iran chooses to take out the rest of the world's, the rest of that region's oil supplies, they're only hurting themselves in the long run. So, but ultimately, as I said, there's responses and there's responses. And if Iran wants to try to, quote unquote, save face, that's one thing. But if Iran does something that costs American lives and that costs American infrastructure, heaven forbid the response is good. And the U.S. has lots of opportunities at its disposal to make the regime hurt and hurt badly.
Yeah,
this doesn't look like a scenario where anything is de-escalating in a hurry. Well, we've seen positions here on the show. We're keeping our eyes very closely glued to what's happening in the Qatar airspace. But I'm completely out of time, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me right here on the Newshour. Appreciate your time and appreciate your views on this entire issue. And ladies and gentlemen, brace up. At the moment, I don't know what governments are going to decide in Iran and the United States. But as far as voices from both the places are concerned, we're not looking at a de-escalation anytime soon. What that means for oil prices and what that means for India will be on our agenda all day tomorrow. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. Good night, be safe. We'll be back tomorrow with all the details of what's happening around the world.